Hello, fellow map makers. Welcome to another live map making session. This is Ralph Sherman of Fantasy Software, and I'm here tonight to give you a bit of a session of map making with Campaign Cartographer and see what we do here tonight with basically just normal hobby work of mine, which I want to show you some stuff I'm doing and just my general working process, perhaps some extra things that you normally don't get to see in map making. And I don't have an exact plan what I want to do today, so I'll have a look where this session leads me. I have quite a few people around already. It's nice to see. Let me know if the sound is bad or any problem is there, but it does look okay from my side here at the moment. All right. If you've got any questions during the session, just put them in the chat. We've got lots of knowledgeable people there who will be happy to answer any questions that can be quickly answered in the chat. Other stuff I can perhaps show on screen. I'll have the time tonight to divert to lots of different things. If you've got something special you want to see in overland map making, let me know. And then let's see how we are going on here. I am currently working on a map for my role-playing campaign that's going on using the One Ring 2nd edition game system, and we're running a Wildland campaign in around Mirkwood, and I'm still going on and making a huge map of Mirkwood and the surroundings. And that means a lot of trees. Trees and trees and trees. You've got to break up a map like that a bit, so it's not just one unbroken canopy of trees, which is fairly uninteresting. So you've got to come up with some ways to make it interesting and do extra stuff that adds some interest to the map. And I want to do some of that tonight. Basically, just continue working on my map and see what I can do to break up the monotony of trees. Alright, so let's have a look first on my map that I'm currently working on. So I'm going to start by simply erasing the start text I've created here for showing the session. If I can actually manage to click the erase button, there we are. And then press D for do it. We'll refresh and the text is gone. See, I'm zoomed in fairly close in with my tree work here at the moment, so let's just get an overlap of the whole map to start with and see how this is. And there you can see I'm just in one little corner down here, and I've already created lots of forest and Anduin Valley and mountains, and I'm currently working on the southern edge of the forest, the most evil part of Mirkwood, Dol Guldur, and the lair of the necromancer. So as you can see, it's a map that's consisting of several parts. Basically, I've started with another much less detailed map and then taken sections and mapped them in detail one by one, and then put these together again. And eventually, I turned to mapping within the large drawing, because I didn't want to insert everything back again, and it's still working well enough. I'm working on the large map, and so I'm just working in the big map at the moment. And one of the problems that comes up with that is zooming to the areas you want to go. And normally I just zoom out to the extents with the zoom extends button up here on the right, and that's what I've just done, and then use the window zoom to go back into the area I'm currently mapping. But this can sometimes be a bit complicated, or not complicated, but time consuming to zoom out every time and back in again, and sometimes you want to go exactly back to a map session that you want to map. And so I wanted to show you first how to set up named views that you can zoom in from a list, and just as a general tool and useful bit of zoom knowledge. So for example, say I want to concentrate on my southern section here, basically the last section I've started by on here, and that's a good overview that I want to get back often and easily. So I want to create a saved view of this, basically. For that, I'm going to go zoom to the section I want to be at, and then go into the view menu and Windows, and then I'm going to name this window. And for that, I just click somewhere in my view window, and now I give this a name, and I just call this Southern Mirkwood. There we are. And now if I zoom out, I'm at my large view again, and I say I want to zoom to my specific view. Then I go to Zooms, named, right click, and then I have my list of views here. We do have a few that get the campaign calculator adds automatically for each map. These are not very useful for me here at the moment, so I'm just gonna delete them. The lower left, lower right, and so on. Overview is fine. The top and upper I'm gonna delete as well. So just so my list is shorter. And now I can just choose Southern Mirkwood, click OK, and I'm back at exactly the same zoom I've chosen before. And then I can also, I did already do one for my start view. I had open when I started the video, so I can just go view, or I can just re-click now because I'm still got my... Oh no, zooms are not automatically repeated. It's the name view it wanted to repeat, and that's not something I wanted to do. So I'm going to go to my start zoom, and there I am at the section I started this video with. And that's a useful thing to know about the view zooms. You can even use them in macros. If you have a section you want to users to zoom to, if you give the map to someone else, so you can create a macro that then, if you click it, will zoom to this named view in the map. Basically, if you know the World War II Interactive Atlas, then or also I think the Forgotten Realms Interactive Atlas, that used a lot of that functionality to zoom with buttons within a map. Okay, so I've got a question from Versus. How do you not run into performance issues with such a map? I tried it once. It was very slow and prone to crashes. Well, I'm not happening for me with an overland map like this. I'm you can see it's pretty snappy still to zoom around here. It tends to be slow at the first time when it's caching its resource and stuff, but after that this just works quite okay. It can be tricky with city maps, because city maps use a lot of aligned polygons, which are very resource intensive, and that can be problematic if you're running into trouble with a map. You can do some things to improve display speed in the display speed settings here. For example, you can turn off the automatic bitmap quality, or can turn it to medium size. Not sure I'm going to see much difference here now, but you see the symbols got a little bit more blurry. That's because Campaign for now uses a lower resolution setting for the symbols, also for the bitmaps. So that's a way, and that will make the load on the computer lower. You can also do a fixed bit quality at very low, but then often you will have trouble seeing how the symbols actually look. Also, especially with houses, disable shading and disable align fill style will save a lot of computational work on your map, make the workflow of your processor much easier. And so if you're working a huge city map, I always recommend to disable the align fill styles and possibly the shading as well. In extreme measures, also just draw all the line fill styles as solid, and then you'll have a much easier time on with the display of the map. But that should not be necessary for this map here. Well, there's the cat. Say hello to Other's tail. It's probably right in the camera now. Come on, cat, come here. Come on. Say hi. No, she's putting her claws into my jeans, so she's not picking her up today. All right. So let's see, what do we want to do with the map and the forest? Basically, I want to fill all the dark area here with trees, or with forest, basically. And so we do need to put a lot of trees in there. I've started already, as you can see, obviously, and I've done some things to break up the monotony of all the trees. For one thing, I've used different types of forest in different sections. I've got the pine forest at times, then I have mixed forest, and also parts as just deciduous forest. I use that sometimes to show height. Here it's more that the darker and more evil, or closer to Dol Guldur the forest gets, the more pine trees you get. That's just based on some quote from The Lord of the Rings, or its appendixes somewhere, that pine trees are fighting amongst themselves on the slopes of Dol Guldur. And so that's something that just captured my imagination. And then I've also varied the density of the forest. For example, here I've used a more scattered forest approach, while I've got the dense forest for most of the parts here. Then I've scattered in some swampy areas and put some special trees in there. I've got some hills, which I only partly cover with trees, and so on. So let's see how I combine different types of forests with the forest drawing tools. So let's have a look. Oh, here we are. This is the deciduous forest tool. Here's the pine forest, and here's the mixed forest tool. So I start by laying down a bit of pine forest. For that, I'm just gonna go in and outline the area. Oh, did I pick the mixed forest after all? I wanted the pine forest. Where's my pine forest? Yeah. Accidentally clicked the wrong one. So let's just redo it. Here we are. Bit of section here. And then I want to, let's put a bit of pine forest down here on the southern edge of my path here. Go, but you can see this, especially at the lower edges, the forest tends to look very regular with evenly spaced trees, so we do need to break this up a little bit. But first, let's put in some mixed forests. Here we are, and then just draw this between these two here, and up here as well. No problem with just overlapping bits of forest there, and a bit down here. All right, and I think here this is basically too narrow. If I just overlay this here, I'll just get these even tree lines, so I'm just gonna put in individual pieces there, individual symbols. But I don't need to take individual trees as such, I can go, for example, with the mixed copses here to put down a few, and also a bit of pine trees. Still use this here, and them. They're basically the forest drawing tools create their forest areas with these different pieces of woods, the forest, woods and copse, and these fills the area defined by the polygon you draw with these symbols, matching them up, and then putting single trees around the edges. And we can, if you just add some of these yourself later, they'll just blend in totally fine with the rest. And now I'm gonna grab some individual pine trees and break up the forest edges with them. As these are not very high mountains, I'm assuming that they do have most tree coverage, fewer bare areas, so I'm just putting some trees on top of them. But I do want to show the mountain symbols to show through, so I'm not doing a whole coverage of these. Same with the hills. And then I'm gonna grab some individual deciduous trees and scatter these among the pines. The others. Here we go. Here, a bit coverage on the hills. And then often I do scatter in some special trees, especially here in this evil part of the forest. I'm gonna grab some mostly bare or really dead trees and add a little bit more variety by just scattering them among the other trees. And now if I zoom in, you'll see that I've got quite a bit of wrong overlap here. See, the trees are on top of the others where they should below them. And then I do my usual magic command, sort symbols and map. Just select everything, press D for do it. And it will put the trees into the wrong order, in the correct order, and sort all of them out. Sometimes individual pieces get mixed up a little bit, but this is looking fine. You could, of course, wonder why the trees are still all nicely remaining behind the trees. That's because the trees go on their own sheet. Let's see if I hide everything else, you'll see that's just the trees on that sheet, and so they'll always be on top of the hills. If you want to change that, you can add another symbols trees sheet here in the order before the symbols sheet, and then put trees on that, and then you can have some behind the hills. So let's just quickly give that a try. So I'm gonna add a symbols trees back sheet. Oh, I already have that. Haha. Of course I already have that. There we are. And then I'm gonna show everything again. And so if you want to have a tree sticking out behind the hills here for whatever specific reason, you can put this on there, or there, and then if I do refresh, you can't see this. If I wanted to have the tree here sticking out between the hills, then I need to put it on the hills sheet. But you can see here that tree is nicely behind the hill. Now, if I wanted that, I've got that tree here if I can find it. There we are. And I would like it to be behind that hill ridge, but in front of the others. And for that, they do need to be, because these are on the same sheet. This also needs to be on the sheet, but I can hopefully put it in the correct spot immediately by using the send behind command. So I'm going to use send behind. I get asked select the entity to be moved below, and I want to move the tree below this hill. Then I select the entity I want to move, press do it, and no, it's probably might be that I clicked hit the wrong tree symbol, or this is actually just one symbol. Can't quite see this at the moment. Let's give it another try with another symbol. Let's try this one here. Combine not. There we are. This time we hit the correct one, and we can now see the bare tree just sticking up behind that hill ridge. Alright, so here's one thing. You can see nicely broken up forest here. It's not one boring clutch of trees, and you can still see the path here among the trees. There's one more thing I wanted to do. I want to hide the path basically a little more. Basically, it's not an open, really apparent road, but more of a hidden path beneath the trees. And you can see that if it's on the GM layer, it should be on GM hard here. If I hide that, you can see my path is not visible as such. But because I've left a fairly wide gap with the trees, it's still fairly apparent that a path should be going there. So what I want to do is I want to add a few more trees to hide it better. It should still be visible, but not quite as apparent. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the tree symbol again and just get more symbols around here. So it just hides most of the path. We are. It's looking okay. We are. Again, I'm going to sort my symbols. And as my path quite visible, and if I hide it, it's still going to be generally visible. But it's not, the gap there in the trees is not quite as apparent. See, it's quite nicely hidden there. You can spot it if you're looking for it. But fine for us now. Alright, so I've got that section down. So let's move on to our next section here, down here. See, I've got a bit of a location here that I want to connect to with my road. Did I show that again? No. There we are. Okay. And the path is already running there. Let's activate sheet effects so we can see it a bit more closely. And you can see the tower is actually beyond the map area I'm currently doing, but I'm still going to integrate it here, and because I'll need it later anyway, and it connects so much to this, so it's good to know how I want to set that up there. One thing I noticed, the tower is behind the hill. That's because I sorted it and the tower symbol is higher up, so C3 Plus correctly assumes it should be up behind the hill and puts it there, but I do want it on top of that, and to have that I'm going to move the tower to a higher up sheet, and here we have got our own symbol structures, which is above the trees symbols trees sheet. So I'm going to put it there, and now it's nicely there on top of the hill where I wanted it to be. So I'm going to want to make it a bit more of a swampy area here, so I'm going to go down and use the marsh background. I most often use the marsh background instead of the swamp background because I just find that the swamp stands out a bit too much. I like it a little better how the marsh area looks on the grassy area. Okay, and then I'm going to grab the swamp symbols to just scatter some swamp symbols. This is basically also kind of trees with some watery spaces around them, because I don't want open areas really. It should just be swampy ground with perhaps not quite as dense trees or not as large trees. I do that first, so I have these, and then I go in and go back to my first areas. I might actually put in a more of a hill here, so I'm gonna click this and go looking for my hills. Got my hills here. Actually, some nice lower hills here. Go, and now I'm gonna go back and add trees. Got a question from Sue. If you make a separate layer for manually order trees and hills and freeze it, will sort symbols and maps still include them? No, because Kamega only sorts the stuff that you select, but the problem is that then probably everything is either behind those frozen trees and hills or above them, because it all gets sorted, all the other stuff gets sorted together, and the unsorted stuff is either behind or in front of it, and that could quite easily break the overall look. So it's normally better to work with sheets instead of using frozen layers. So let's do a quick sort symbols and map. See that my hills are correctly located. There you can see the towers on top of that. Yeah, grouping is the better way, at least as long as they're on the same sheet, because then they'll always be together in the same order and can get ordered among the other stuff. So let's put in some dead trees here around that tower. It's an evil sorceress's tower. Knowing that from the description in the role-playing books I have. So I'm gonna show that by putting some dead or half-dead vegetation around this. It's a necromancer after all who resides or used to reside in Dol Guldur. Then gonna use the mixed forest tool. I always avoid the hills with the forest tools because they will just cover everything I draw above them with their trees, and all the hill symbols will vanish below that, and that's not what we want, obviously. Okay, and I could have a look here and perhaps put, see whether that works. Let's have a look whether I can put the whole forest here tool behind the hills. No, that does not work. Okay, so I could move to sheet prior. I did something in between. Lost them. Okay, let's redo this and show you. If I do a forest tool and draw a whole section here, which I then want to go behind the hill. If I don't do anything between, I can do move to sheet, select by prior. No, it doesn't. Okay, well, now I'm confused. It should. Misremembering something. Okay, in that case, we'll just select the trees by hand. Then we do need to unselect the hills. And then we can press D for do it and put the symbols on symbols trees back. There we are, and then we've got the whole section here of the forest on the only thing that's a bit problematic is then there also the path is above them. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to move the road a bit here so they don't overlap the tree symbols. And then I'm going to go in and add individual trees here. Here now I can overlap again, now I just need to be careful here that because they will be on a separate sheet, if I put a symbol here, it will not sort correctly into that sheet. So I'll leave gaps here, and that way that error will not show up. Of course, I could also put them on the symbols trees back sheet, but at some point somewhere I do need to overlap, leave the gaps so the overlap to all the other trees does not appear. Sue asks me, will you be mapping some of the locations on this map as dungeon scale maps? No direct plans on that at the moment, because the game I'm playing here, I'm not using floor miniatures or floor plans for that really, leaving most of that to the player's imagination. Theater of the mind style, as you say. But perhaps in the future something. If I do, doing a video on that, certainly a possibility. But at the moment I haven't planned any dungeons here. Alright, again hiding my path a little bit. Alright, I'm pretty micromanaging here at the moment. I'm not doing that everywhere, but I'll just see that I'm going to fill out this area for the moment. Yeah, again, I'm going to switch to my mixed forest for a moment. Just filling these areas in here. Bit here. Then I do need a bit of forest here. And then I go in and start off with some pine trees. To break that up. I could set up or use the wood tools that we have for this here, but in general I find that when I'm scattering trees like that, I prefer my own by hand scattering, because it gets I can fill the gaps more easily. I do have to go in and put in individual trees at some point anyway, because otherwise I'll have gaps I don't like, and so I might as well just start with that, because that's actually fairly quick. So So then sometimes let's see whether I want to put some special things, some little things to find on the map. Let's see first where did the tower is on the structures layer, but I do actually want to have it on the GM layer because I want to be able to hide it later. So I'm gonna come on. Doesn't want to get grabbed. There I have it. Do it. And then I'm going to put it again on my GM heart layer there. And I can also add other objects on there. So let's go in and see what else do I have. I have as you might see, I've been using some of the free monthly symbols we did last year or the year before already. I forget, but it's the Dark Empire symbols that Mike Schley did for these, for the free monthly symbols here. You can see some of these, the tower, beautiful symbols. And they make great evil stuff on this map. For now, I do wanted something more natural here. For example, a kern, I think. I'm not quite entirely sure about the pronunciation. And then I might even make this a bit smaller than the default here. And I'm going to put this also on the simple structures layer. Here we are. Another one here, and a third one here. Thanks, Sue. Can. Okay, yeah. All right. So also perhaps a burial mound somewhere here. So slowly sinking into the swamp. And this one I do actually want to go among the trees. So what I do is I select the symbols trees sheet and simply put it on that. Symbols, sort symbols, map, all of them. Now it's fits neatly into those there. So let's see, what do I want to do? I'm thinking I might want to put, this is kind of a valley here, a bit, might be something interesting there. I will need some spider haunted woods for the campaign, I think. But I think it would be nice to have a bit of a dark lake or something with some swamp around that. Yeah, let's put in something like that. So I'm going to grab my swamp first again. Oh no, actually what I'm first going to do is I'm going to put in a lake. Or a series of small lakes perhaps, nothing too large. Here we are. Now I'm going to grab my marsh again. Actually, I think, let's have a quick look. I'm on the land features. Yeah, the lakes should be above that. So I can just draw the marsh. Yeah, there we are. That looks good. Few tree symbols, swamps symbols, I mean. Nice. And now I'm gonna fill in a bit of larger areas of trees here, because I'm coming into areas that I don't need to map as closely. So I'm gonna grab the mixed forest tool here and something wrong there. Let's try again. Mixed forest tool here. And I could just draw the forest across the whole thing here, but that's too much for my taste. So because I then don't get to put in any breaks into that. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put in some general areas, some larger areas, and then I'm going to use the gaps to put in a bit of added detail. So it's not all the same. There should be something here. And then I'm going to use the deciduous tool here. Right, and now I'm going to go in and have a quick look here at my special symbols. We've got some interesting extra symbols from Mike Schley for the free monthly symbols. Some giant trees here, giant dead tree even. I think that would make a good addition here for sitting above the swamp. The alien trees are too alien for the setting. I don't want them like this in Mirkwood, Middle Earths, but I'm going to put in a large tree here. Alright, and then I do need to fill out the gaps here. By using just the manual setting for this, won't have quite as dense a look as for the rest, and that breaks up the overall pattern of trees, and that's what I was going for. So I'm just manually scattering them here above the rest, making sure not to cover the peaks here directly, because I want those. What I can do again is I'm going to switch to the symbols trees back sheet and put a few here so they peek up from behind the mountains or the hills. Looking good. Then I'm going to grab the symbol trees sheet again, the normal one, and switch to my pine trees and say the southern slopes here are covered more with pines. A few more among these trees here, because I don't want to be all deciduous trees. I do need to build up this section here, fill it with trees. Got this cave here, I've added that earlier already for point of interest. I'll make these trees a bit barer than the rest. And here I'm just scattering pine trees and then switching to deciduous trees to mix them up. And then I'm going to slowly go towards my swamp here, fill up the edges. Trees on these hills here. I do need to fill these areas with trees here. Yeah, I'm going mostly with only with deciduous trees for the moment. Also some across the hills. Here we are. I'm going to put a tree on top of the barrow as well. And then I'm going to go in and sort my result again. Symbols, sort symbols and map. All of them. Here we are, and I like it. Looking good, looking nice and varied. You can see the mountains and the hills are the swamps, the little lakes, and there's a bit of a break and the big tree here. So it's an interesting forest without being all of one of the same. But what I do need to do is I need to break up the forest line here a little bit, while Mirkwood in general does have a very sudden and clear forest line. There's still going to be outlying vegetation and little patches of trees outside, and in general I think it looks better if there's a more natural way the forest blends into the rest of the landscape. And there we are. And with that, we've pretty much very nicely built up our area here. Now I want to zoom into that specific area again, like previously. I'm gonna zoom named and go to Southern Mirkwood, and here we are. And there's my general look how the forest is. I'm thinking here it's missing a few trees here. It's a little bit too sparse for my taste, so I'm gonna go in, grab my pine trees again, and add a few more trees here in this area. Fill it up a little. Sword symbols again. Should be saving my map occasionally. Yeah. And now I would turn my attention to the surrounding areas. So far I only have the paths leading into the forest and to, this is Dol Guldur itself here. And let's have a look at the map. I've been basing this on basically the overlay land map that I created first. So for this I'm gonna start. No, I can see whether it's in my recent file list. No, not that one. So I'm going to just go open. This is in my video folder, and I saved this map specifically in the video folder, but I'm looking for another one now. So I'm going into my game folder and then the campaign maps, and I'm looking for this map here. And there you can see where I've defined the areas I'm mapping at the moment. And here's my Southern Mirkwood map. And you can see the bright green outline is the area I'm currently mapping. I've done all the forest area, and there's basically no detail in the rest outside the forest on this map. It's unknown. I don't know anything that goes in there. But I do have a little bit of swamp down here from the Endwash swamps, and the forest is not, the river is not far away. Next up, I would probably be going for this section. I've already outlined that with Lothlorien and the Moria stuff. It's going to be an interesting one. But I do want to finish this section first, because I will probably need it next for gaming. So I'm going to save this here at the moment, and with my previous files, go back to my video map. Here we are. So I'm just as with forest, I do need to add some interest to these large grassy areas. It's mostly plains and grasslands, but I notice we do have a bit of swamp down here, so I'm going to start with that. Go for my vegetation again. Grab first the marsh background. Zoom out a bit so I can see beyond the edge, and I'm just gonna put in a bit of marshland down here. I don't know yet how this will go on, so I will probably later just edit it when I have the rest of the map and I need to extend this or replace it with a larger swampy area. For now I just need to cover the edge here, so I'm keeping this small. Add a couple of swamp symbols, not too much because it's not a forested area, and I find these swamp symbols a bit too much forest to fill the area with them, so I'll just add a few and let the rest stand on its own. And I might just add a little stream running towards the Anduin here from the forest's edge. Probably a very unwholesome stream coming from the direction of Dol Guldur, but still it's going to be a bit of nice variation. Not sure the river sizes are here correctly set up for this map anymore, because basically I've removed them in the map border edges and enlarged the map willy-nilly. So the tools based on the map size will not be correct. So I'm just going to use small here for the moment, and let's have a look. Start here and just on the edge of the forest. And let's draw the stream up to here. You can see it's basically zero width, and so I'm gonna grab the width of this river here if I can hit it. No, at the moment I'm hitting the marsh there that's around it, so I'm to zoom in a bit. There we are. It's on the river sheet. It's 0.3 width. And so I'm just going to change line width of this river to 0.3. And oh yeah, so also seeing I've changed the fill style for these here as well, not only the width. So I'm gonna change fill style to it, change fill style to it, and there we are at the same as these rivers up here. I think it's actually a bit too wide, really, for my taste compared to the river up there. It only should be a small stream. So what instead, I'm going to change the line width again and make it half that, so 0.15. Oh, that's wider. What did I type? Oh, I just typed 0.5. There we are. And now I can have a look how I can vary my background here a little bit. I've got the scrub background. That's always nice to give a little bit of variation to the landscape here. This is going to be fairly dry areas anyway, turning into the brown lands further south. Start by adding some of that area there. What else do I have? Farmland is not something that's where I'm going to put in there, but some even drier grassland would be good. Let's see. The problem here, if I do this here, you'll probably know already, because the edge fade works on the whole sheet. And both these two textures are on the same sheet. The edge fade doesn't work where they meet each other. So I'm gonna need to put the grassland on its own sheet. Move to sheet, do it, and I already have a land features 2 sheet. There we go. And now they blend more probably. If you're not happy with the transitions here, it's always good to put in a few patches, smaller ones along the edges to give the edge some variation. So here. Oh, yeah. I should have changed the current sheet before I did that. This one, this one, this one. Oh, but not this one. Do it and put it on Blend Features too. There we are. And you can do the same for this. But if I wanted to add something on top of the grassland again, I do need a new sheet. Blend Features 3. I'm gonna copy the edge fade effect over. Yeah, and now I'm gonna grab the scrub terrain and put some bits and pieces here on the grassland sheet, and that way we have a more varied transition here between the textures. You can already see I have some of these transitions here on the northern section, and I do obviously want to match these. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to this sheet and I'm gonna deactivate the sheet effects. That way I can see the borders more clearly. And now I'm just gonna draw over this, gonna scrub background, see, just follow this here. Yeah, then I'm gonna use the like drawing tool on the scrubland. On the grassland. Scrub is the other one. And extend that to match. And then turn on sheet effects again. And there you have the extension of that bit of texture on that map. Okay. And features, I do want to put a bit more scrub here on the first edge. You can nicely overlap that with the forest as well. That will blend just nicely because the trees are on top of that. There we go. And I would probably go in and when I know more what is happening there, add a few small locations like camps or little villages where there might be any on this map. For now, I would just want to do one thing. I want to check my forest tool, sheet and hide everything else. And here you see that's because I've used the forest drawing tool so much. I've got lots of little forest patches, the background of them overlapping each other, and I don't need them basically because I already have one big one to start with. So I'm going to remove all those. Erase. Not the big one. Do it. And so I don't have any because it's just gets darker everywhere. I do still have this bit here, and I'm actually gonna keep it for now because eventually when I've got the whole thing finished I will probably actually no, because it's gonna be separate pieces of map anyway. I should probably do it so they connect correctly. See whether we can do this. Let's turn off sheet effects. And for that, I'm going to simply move this a bit here. Right, then I'm going to remove quite a few here. And I'm going to put in extra nodes to oops, no, that's I used the end modifier there, which I shouldn't be doing. Okay. Now I'm not too bothered about the exact overlap here. I just want to get that generally aligned. Yeah. And if you put 3 nodes on top of each other, then you'll get a sharp corner, even with the smooth paths, as you can see here. And this is for my map for the moment. Okay. Probably in the end, if I've put them all together on this map, I will replace all of these with one big one. But at the moment, I still want to be able to separate them into individual maps so I can print sections of them more easily. And so I'll keep them as separate things. Show all. It's my map again, and I'm going to zoom once more to my named window. There we are. And that's what we've done this session, adding all turn sheet effects perhaps. Here we are. And I've got the forest section done and the basics for the outlying plains areas done. And I call that a good bit of work for the hour I've had here with the care I've taken with the trees and everything. And I hope you learned a little bit and inspired to explore the different tools and things in Campaign Caterer for yourself a little more, as far as you know, some of you are probably more advanced in some ideas than I am, but it's nice that you're watching anyway. Alright, so have a good time. Thanks for watching, thanks for being there, and have a good time, and I'm going to see you again next week. All the best. Bye-bye.